Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant and this is Infinity Battlescape, or at the very least it is a prototype for Infinity Battlescape. Now what is that? It is a space-based game. It is created with the I-Novae engine, which was initially started development in 2004. So this is certainly quite an old project, but it's only just coming to fruition, and you can probably see why here. It is a pretty spectacular piece of software. Now everything you see in the game here we can actually travel to. What's interesting about that is that there are no loading screens. This is all entirely seamless. So the Earth-like planet ahead there, I'm going to travel right toward that now, and we should be able to land there, or at least fly down into the atmosphere and fly over the landscape. We've got a number of external views as well. This is the basic ship that we start the game with. And you can see it's got a whole load of thrusters going on there. That's because the game uses full Newtonian physics, which is also really nice, because it gives you a lot of control over your ship. You can enable flight assist or disable it to gain even more control over your ship. Now I've just got into warp there, enabling me to pick up speed a little bit, and we're going to be able to seamlessly go down to the planet's surface here. You can see the pink planet in the back there, which looks a bit like a gas giant from here. We can actually travel there as well. What's nice about these areas is that you've got some wonderful views up into space. You can see the ring system there that's going around this planet. We can actually see that from the planet's surface, as well as planet rise or planet fall just over the back there. And as we're coming down through the atmosphere here, we're picking up a bit of turbulence, causing the ship to shake somewhat. It's probably going to drop out of warp any moment now, and we will slow down to regular velocities. Now, originally Infinity was going to be an MMO, a large-scale MMO with multiple systems across a galaxy, but for various reasons that no longer is going to be the case. What we got here is Infinity Battlescape, which is a slightly different game, but still using the I-Novae engine. And this is actually on Kickstarter right now, where they're trying to raise funds to get the project to go ahead. I'll read a few of the details from the Kickstarter page now, just to let you know what it's all about. So, what are the highlights of Battlescape? Well, it can engage hundreds of players in epic space battles involving everything from small and nimble interceptors up to immense powerful capital ships. It goes on to say there's seamless interplanetary warfare across a procedurally generated true-to-scale solar system. There's no loading screens except when the game first starts, and for me that's something that's particularly important. We need space games there where we can land on planets, and it's just so much better if that can be done seamlessly. As you've seen here, I've flown straight from that space station I undocked at right down to the planet's surface here, where we could probably engage in aerial combat over the planetary surface. That would be nice, and it would also be possible to set down on this planet here. Although I'm not sure that serves any gameplay purpose, it's still something that's possible. So what is Battlescape actually about? Well, it's a multiplayer space sim, as we've already said, and it can feature hundreds of players per service, and it all does this without any instancing at all. And that's quite an amazing feat in and of itself. Essentially, players will be able to join one of three factions that are present here within this star system. Players then go about ensuring that their own faction is the one that comes to dominate the solar system, and they do this by destroying enemy factions' resources as well as enemy ships. There's going to be a variety of ship classes in the game, initially 3, interceptors, bombers and corvettes, with fighters being reserved for a 500,000 stretch goal if that can be achieved on the Kickstarter. Capital ships are also planned for the game, with destroyers, cruisers and carriers. From the description on the Kickstarter, it would seem that these 3 large ship classes would have an essential role within the game. Okay, so here you can see I'm once again going back up into space. I've had a nice little fly over the surface of the planet. It seems to be very detailed with some valleys, mountains and nice little hills. And we're now leaving the atmosphere, and I'm picking up speed. I'll soon be able to enter warp speed. And once again, this planet's ring system is becoming quite clearly apparent there off to the left, and as I just dip the nose of the ship down a little bit, we can see the pinkish purple gas giant over in the background there. At least I assume it's a gas giant. It's got similar banding to those sort of planets. So there are other types of planets here as well. I'm actually not sure if this one is a planet or a moon. We might be able to see data on the planets, but I haven't figured out how to do that if so. But we can see this one has a lot of active volcanism on it. What I really like about this one is that on the light side of the planet, the lava barely shows up due to the light from the star. And as you look there at the Terminator and as it goes through to the dark side of this planet or this moon, you actually see how bright the lighting is from the lava itself. Also, just look at the cracks and crevices on this planet, the valleys and deep gorges, as well as the mountains as well. There's a lot of detail down here on these planets, and as you get in closer to the planets, that detail resolves itself even more. So what I want to do here is get in close at these lava lakes and lava rivers and get a nice look at them. So these sort of environments are actually pretty important for a space-based game, at least for me. It's always been my dream in any space game to actually be able to go down to a planet and see the things here. Just look how that transition was perfectly smooth. In fact, I use the word transition as though something changed, but it would seem nothing actually changed. We just got closer down to the planet's surface, and rather than seeing detail from a distance, we can now actively see plateaus and mountains. But as I was saying, these sort of environments in games are a thing I've always wanted to see, and flying around these with ships, get involved in combat, looking for resources down here, looking for enemy installations to attack, that I think is just going to be something quite special indeed. Now everything in this game is to scale, so these planets are on a 1-to-1 scale basis, which means they're actually fully fledged planets and fully fledged moons. Once again, we're experiencing quite a bit of turbulence, and that should stop in a moment as we drop out of warp again. From a distance, those lava rivers and lava lakes looked like they were just located there right on the surface of the planet, and although that is certainly obviously the case, it's clear once you get down here that they're literally embedded within the surface. Just look how here the lava only flows where it actually should flow, in the lower layers of the terrain here. It gives this world a very nice atmosphere and a very different feeling to the world we saw previously. I would like to see I-Novae Studios take advantage of the differences between the planets and perhaps provide differences between gameplay depending on the sort of planet you're actually on. Having Earth-like worlds like the one we was previously on and then coming here to a lava world has the potential to provide immensely different gameplay, and that really should be integrated into the game. Talking of gameplay, the original idea for the I-Novae engine here was that it was going to be used for a MMO. Back when work began on this engine, the only real space game out there of any magnitude was EVE Online, so this would have been a second big space MMO. That unfortunately never came to be, but nonetheless here we are today with the I-Novae engine prototype. The Kickstarter is doing pretty well. It's currently, as of this video, coming up for $200,000. Their goal is to reach $300,000, and they do have a number of stretch goals beyond that. But they're also keen to stress that they don't want to get bogged down by feature creep, as that can be a project killer. One of the things that would make this game huge in scope is a persistent universe, and a semi-persistent universe is actually one of the stretch goals, although that is reserved for 1.5 million. So it seems unlikely that I-Novae are going to hit that at the moment, but maybe that's something they can add in at a later date. So this planet here, despite being all yellow, is actually a really attractive planet to fly down. Just look at all the craters here, all of the geology going on. Flying around like this is something I've always wanted to be able to do in a space game, so it's really nice at last to be able to have that delivered like this. With this release, I-Novae Studios have shown what they're capable of, and it does actually give some confidence that they will be able to deliver on their Kickstarter promises. There are a few other things I didn't cover in this video. One of those is combat. These ships do actually have weapons fitted to them and you can fire them. And the other thing, which is quite a biggie, is that this prototype is multiplayer. You do have to log into a server to use it, and there are other players flying around and you can actually get involved in some combat with them. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture any footage of that, but that was mainly because I didn't go out of my way to do so. There are other videos available on YouTube showing that, so if you head to the Kickstarter page, you will be able to see some of that. So if you're interested in checking their Kickstarter out, do go and have a look at it. It seems pretty interesting. Of course, as with all my other Kickstarter videos, the usual disclaimer applies. I'm not endorsing this game, I'm not endorsing the Kickstarter. However, I do like the look of it and I found it really interesting. So, as with anything else that fits into those categories, I thought it well worth sharing. I think that just about covers everything I wanted to talk about in this video. So, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time. After many months of working my way to Sagittarius A, I have now passed right through there and am working my way toward the opposite side of the galactic core. I am now approaching 30,000 light years from Earth and have made a fair few interesting discoveries along the way. A few hundred light years out from Sagittarius A, I come across this beautiful icy rock planet. And after this, I travelled for around about 1,000 light years without coming across anything of particular interest, until I discovered this nebula.